Hi there, my name is Mel Solon. This video contains 50 additional minutes on the subject of relationship compatibility, combined with the 17 minutes of content in my book video titled Relationship Compatibility Checklist. You have 67 minutes of content to help you intelligently address any of the relationship goals described in the overview of my book, including helping you find the love of your life, increase the odds of making romantic relationships work, and in the process, renew and affirm your faith in the concept of marriage. See the 3.5-minute intro video for a quick background on yours truly and how my book came into existence. The presentation you're about to view is a much expanded version of a program I wrote and presented live at an annual conference for an organization called Retrovi, a Christian program, Catholic in origin, founded in Canada and brought to the United States, is open to couples of all faiths and no faith, and has been helping married couples since 1977. I was more than pleased with the kudos and reviews, and I hope you'll feel the same. Retrovi is a community billed as a lifeline for marriages, created to heal, nurture, improve, and rebuild struggling relationships. Retrovi, translated, means rediscovery, reunite, and reunion. On that note, I'll begin the program as though I were speaking to the participants at the conference. Welcome, everyone. If I'm correct, the purpose of your organization is to help you and its members address and resolve interpersonal relationship problems. Assuming that's a fair statement of your organization's purpose, the question arises, how best to define interpersonal relationship problems? My answer, it's those problems that stand in the way of fulfilling your vows. Your vows to love, honor, and cherish each other, for better or worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. I believe this may be the greatest challenge of your life. The challenge is difficult because relationships are exceptionally complicated, as are individuals. And what makes them so complicated is that each partner is constantly struggling to find a fair and healthy balance between the selfish wants and needs of their egotistical nature and their loving desire and need to often be selfless and altruistic. As a jumping-off point, my approach to building relationships recognizes 6 major premises. But first, since this program focuses on avoiding and resolving problems, 1. No problem can stand the assault of sustained thinking. 2. A problem well stated is half solved. And 3. You can't solve a problem with the same kind of thinking that caused the problem in the first place. And now, premise number 1. Vows are broken for both big and little reasons. Ask anyone who's been divorced, what about your partner got on your nerves or drove you crazy? Does the toilet paper come over the top of the roll or from the bottom? What time does the TV get turned off in the evening? What time does the alarm go off in the morning? Who controls the thermostat? Who's responsible for changing diapers and potty training? Who cooks? And who does the dishes? How often should sheets be changed? Will there be sex before marriage? How would you respond to infidelity? Are you open to sleeping in separate bedrooms? Would you be willing to move out of state away from your family if your partner got a job offer to do so with a huge raise? Would your answer change depending on the size of the raise? 3 more thought-provoking questions. 1. Given that either of the following can lead to divorce, which of the 2 do you think is the more common reason? 1. something deemed critically important to the health of the relationship is missing, or 2, something occurs in the relationship that one finds intolerable. 2, does unconditional love have any limits? Can you love someone who physically abuses you or your children? 3, do prenup agreements increase or decrease the chance of divorce? These and the preceding questions are just a few random samples from my book, The Relationship Compatibility Checklist. It's the ultimate communication facilitator and red flag finder. To fully understand what the book is all about and how it works, view my video titled My Book, 17-Minute Overview. Put simply, the book is a tool to help you interview and profile yourself, your partner, or potential love interest. You can read the book together, or you can review it alone to prepare for a face-to-face discussion. Here are 3 sample entries. 1. Bullying, found in the children category. While preferring neither, would you rather that your child come home from school and tell you, A, he's being bullied, or B, he's being accused of being a bully? Is it an NI, non-issue, either way, a PC, potential conflict if you and your partner disagree, or a DB, deal breaker, if you disagree?
2. Keyword parents, found in the background category. Did they argue? Did they fight like cats and dogs? Did they hardly ever fight? Was one dominant? Which one? Was one submissive, passive, and easygoing? Which one? Were they equals? Were they different outside the marriage? Third example, character. This one is found under the looks and appearance category. Can you judge a person's character by their appearance? In other words, can you tell a book by its cover? Can you tell by looking at someone if they're a liar, a criminal, a child molester, a domestic abuser, or a good or bad person? How important is character versus money, fame, or power? Personally, I don't believe you can tell a book by its cover. But with 727 entries, I believe you can not only get inside the cover, but each chapter will get you inside your partner's head in each one of the 23 categories of life.
2 more questions and my answers. First, can you change the past? My answer is no, but with the support of therapy, one-on-one or group, plus relationship retreats and my book, you can change the way you look at the past. And by viewing it from a healthier and wiser perspective, you can remember it less emotionally. As a result, you can effectively change the past and how it affects you in the present. Question 2. How long do you expect or hope to live? Very important question since we plan our lives around our hopes, beliefs, and expectations. Before estimating your life expectancy, consider that the maximum human lifespan, or age at which humans are biologically capable of living, is documented so far at 122 for a female and 116 for a male. She from France died in 1997. He from Japan died in 2013. Recently, a 112-year-old man was asked, "What do you attribute your longevity to?" He replied in one word, moderation. My answer at 86 is meaning and purpose, attitude, and a 50-year happy marriage. When estimating your life expectancy, do not use insurance company actuarial tables. They include all causes of death, including falling off a cliff while mountain climbing or getting shot in a drive-by shooting, plus those deaths that result from self-defeating lifestyle choices. Incidentally, a 60-minute special called The 90s, The New 70s. Note that attitude in a happy marriage can increase life expectancy, and a bad attitude and an unhappy marriage can shorten it. The questions in my book are simply intended to get people talking about life and those issues that may affect relationship decision-making.
Not only will working with my book help readers address and resolve relationship differences, but it will also help them discover what their problem or problems really are, not what they defensively say or think they are. Or they may discover that what they think is a problem is actually a consequence of an issue that's not even on the table or under discussion. For example, you may be blaming your problems on infidelity, adultery, disloyalty, breach of trust, or unfaithfulness, when the focus should be on the issue or issues that led to the relationship destructive behavior.
Premise number 2 of 6. You and most everyone are searching for the love of your life, or you've found yours, but it needs some maintenance and repairs, or maybe an overhaul. If so, you've come to the right place. Premise 3. Everyone loves a love story, yet most endings are not storybook. According to the American Psychological Association, approximately 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce, despite all of the typical relationship advice books ever written. Throughout this presentation, you'll gain insight into why this statistic has remained relatively unchanged in the last 50 years. It also explains why the world is in serious need of help. After all, how can we expect countries to get along if people can't? Fix the couple, fix the family, fix the world. Incidentally, the breakup rate for dating couples is 85%. Another incidental statistic: what percent of divorces are initiated by women? The answer, depending on the source and criteria, is between 70 to 90%. Premise number 4. The grass isn't always greener, which accounts for second, third, and even fourth marriages. The divorce statistics for those marriages are even higher than for first marriages. People are obviously not getting smarter through failure. Then there's Elizabeth Taylor, who was married 8 times to 7 men, Richard Burton twice.
In many cases, their decision is based on a desperate need for companionship, or on little more than looks, sex, and chemistry, which they call love. Note, while chemistry can be initially exciting, compatibility is generally considered more important when looking for a long-lasting, fulfilling relationship. Believe it or not, some people put more time and energy into buying a car than they do into choosing a lifetime partner. Fortunately, in the same way that a fax report comes in handy in discovering that a car's been previously damaged, my book can serve a similar purpose in uncovering hidden or potential problems in a love interest when shopping for a lifetime partner.
Premise number 5. Putting the relationship back together requires getting reacquainted. And getting reacquainted means getting to know each other, really know each other, at a whole new level. Getting to know yourself and your partner and the dynamics of your relationship compatibility is at the heart of my book's problem-solving process. Lastly, premise number 6. What do you think is the single greatest obstacle that makes finding the love of your life and fulfilling your vows the greatest challenge of your life? My answer: you and your partner are unique among the billions of people on Earth. More on this in the book overview video.
Beyond your physical looks, face and body, you're unique because of what goes on in your mind. Everyone knows this, but how unique? My answer: immeasurably so. You're incomparable, irreplaceable, and unduplicable. Think about that for a moment. How can I say immeasurably? Consider that your brain is comprised of 100 billion neurons. Each neuron can communicate with other neurons through thousands of synapses and dendrites. This produces a number of possible connections in the mind so large it exceeds the number of elementary protons and neutrons in the universe, plus all the grains of sand on all the beaches of the world. To grasp the size of these numbers, consider that with only 9 digits, a Social Security number can produce 1 billion possibilities. And there are more possible moves in a chess game played on 64 squares with 32 pieces than there are atoms in the universe.
Our inherent uniqueness further means that no two people have the same psychological, philosophical, spiritual, and political perspectives on life. This explains why our attitudinal and emotional responses to the same life event can vary so greatly. It's not the event that causes the response. It's the filter, the mind through which the event is processed. Believing that your unique perspective is the only valid one is a common precursor to many arguments and often manifests in personality types that are seen as judgmental, critical, and fault-finding. Given our differences, what then are the odds of finding someone whose tastes, values, attitudes, and philosophy of life itself are the same as ours? Is it any wonder that any relationships survive? The point is, the potential for incompatibility is practically infinite. Fortunately, with this book, many of these potential incompatibility issues, conflicts, or problems can be identified and brought to the surface. Until recognized, reconciling and decision-making are seriously compromised. On the plus side, just knowing how inherently unique people are and knowing that the grass isn't always greener helps us to be more tolerant of our differences and more willing to work at making things work. Unlike my relationship compatibility checklist, which is a tool and not a typical advice book, this presentation has much helpful advice. For example, the ideas, reminders, and suggestions that follow can help any couple communicate more effectively, get along significantly better, and reduce the likelihood of divorce. First, understand that getting along takes work and a tolerance for conflict. However, given our inherent differences, if there's no conflict and never an argument, one party may be dominant to a fault. Getting along means further being kind to each other and learning to apologize as well as to forgive, not only your partner, but yourself as well, including forgiving your friends, family members, or any relationship worth saving. Consider this reminder. The foundation of any successful relationship is found in the 3 C's. What are the 3 C's?
The answer? It's all about communication, compromise, and commitment. While infidelity and communication problems are cited as common reasons for divorce, commitment stands out as the most frequently reported cause. Commitment begins with our vows, spoken before one's God, friends, and family. They represent the verbal and psychological commitment that our promise to support each other now and in the future is real, and that neither partner is going to throw in the towel nor bail at the first sign of trouble. A marriage certificate, in addition to its previously mentioned practical benefits, is also legal evidence of that commitment. Commitment means further that when the character of your partner is attacked by others, you would give your partner the benefit of the doubt and be there for them. Ultimately, commitment provides the psychological environment and the fertilizer out of which trust, security, and peace of mind can grow.
Here now are 8 quick hints on how to argue more fairly and effectively and how to communicate more successfully. 1. Share feelings and differences of opinion openly without fear of retribution or rejection. There is no winning and losing. You're a team, and when one member loses, the team loses. 2. Word choice matters. For example, know the difference between what you need, want, prefer, and demand. 3. Argue one issue, one point at a time. Interrupting and jumping to another issue or another point of contention while discussing a current problem is often a sidetrack. It's called going off topic or changing the subject, a way to escape facing the real issues in the topic at hand. 4. Make it a policy to question your use of generalities and absolutes, like every, only, always, never, all, none, everyone, no one. They tend to be gross exaggerations and quite provocative. 5. When arguing calls for logic, stay away from words that are ethereal, pretty, and poetic, but are abstract, vague, and ambiguous, which is why it's so difficult to discuss religion. 6. Be careful when using superlatives, best, worst, and hyperbole, extreme exaggeration. They, like absolutes, raise eyebrows and provoke angry challenges to their truthfulness. Avoid extremism. Think moderation. Many arguments are over little more than a matter of degree, not principle.
Robert F. Kennedy said it best. What is dangerous about extremists is not that their positions are extreme, but they are intolerant. The evil is not what they say about their cause, but what they say or imply about their opponents. 7. To argue successfully, stay open-minded. This means being willing to listen to another's point of view non-reactively. In fact, the more reactive you are, the more it suggests you're insecure and defensive about your own position. Listening with an open mind doesn't mean you're going to agree with your opponent or act on their position. What it does mean is that you're willing to listen and treat each other with respect and love, even when you're upset or angry. Again, that means genuinely listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk.
As Aristotle said, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. This is easy to do once you've accepted that almost more important than winning an argument or even getting some agreement is the basic need to feel heard. Last hint, number 8. Speak with humility, not as an arrogant, authoritative know-it-all. Arrogance is generally perceived negatively as an inflated, egotistical sense of superiority, often masking insecurity and lacking empathy. While sometimes mistaken for confidence, arrogance is recognized by its destructive, condescending, and dismissive nature. Know that you don't know everything. You may be uninformed or the victim of misinformation or disinformation. What follows is a classic communication rule that can increase the odds of listening and hearing each other even during contentious arguments.
The communication rule described here was created by Carl Rogers, one of the most eminent psychologists of the 20th century. The rule states that to minimize contentious communications, each person can speak up for himself only after he has first restated the ideas and feelings of the previous speaker accurately and to that speaker's satisfaction. Basically, the rule asks, how does each person feel about the other person's ideas, and how does each person think the other person feels about their ideas? Remember, Until the other party feels understood, it's not the opposing person's turn to speak. Flip a coin to see who goes first. The rule works whether we're talking about an argument between a husband and wife, a boss and an employee, partners in business, roommates, or a Democrat and a Republican.
One more piece of advice. In 2 words, know thyself. If you don't know yourself and share your thoughts and feelings, including your fears and doubts, how can you expect your partner to know you any better? And vice versa. Do you know your partner's hopes and dreams? Do they know yours? Beyond survival, what is your meaning and purpose for living? What are your attitudes toward money and work? A topic covered in the money, work, and financial category. Regarding your hopes and dreams, it's one thing to hope and dream. The question is, do you believe in them? On that note, here are a few of my beliefs on the topic of beliefs and dreams.
If there were anything that partners need to agree upon more, it's a belief in their relationship and their dreams. However, equally important is believing in the process and price necessary to turn those dreams into reality. As I am prone to say, getting what you want out of life is only half the battle. The other half is getting it at your own pace. Do you have or believe you'll find the perfect job? Confucius reminds us, choose a job you love and you will never have to work a day in your life. Or as Katharine Graham said, to love what you do and feel that it matters, how could anything be more fun? In either case, some people are motivated by a belief in an afterlife, others by the belief that they're creating a legacy that they believe will live on well after they're gone. The fact is, how we emotionally experience the present depends greatly on how we envision the future. A child who believes he will someday win an Olympic gold medal is happy in the present and excited about his future, no matter what the future may actually hold. Such is the power of believing in your dreams, even if they are considered by others as foolish and impractical. Don't poo-poo anyone's dreams. They may be the only thing that gets them out of bed in the morning. Dr. Reverend Schuller was once approached with the comment, "Dr. Schuller, I hope you live to see all of your dreams come true." To which he replied, "I hope I don't, for if I do, I shall have died before I've finished living."
Know also that whatever you believe, stay humble. Life is full of curveballs. Dreams can be turned upside down in a moment by our physical and biological nature, including health issues and genetic surprises. Then there are the effects of our drinking, drugs, medications, smoking, eating, and exercise habits, factors over which we are much more in control. Visit the eating and food category and the health, fitness, and medical category for some interesting perspectives on these topics. In either case, with the right attitude, life's curveballs can be turned into home runs. Helen Keller, for example. Her story is the most inspiring I've ever heard. Helen Keller was born June 27, 1880. She became deaf and blind at 19 months of either scarlet fever or meningitis. Among her accomplishments, she was the first deaf-blind person to earn a Bachelor of Science degree, graduated cum laude from Radcliffe, was a world-famous speaker and author, wrote 14 books, gave public speeches, and was a founding member of the ACLU. She died at 87. She communicated primarily using home signs until the age of 7 when she met Anne Sullivan, with whom she had a 50-year relationship. Sullivan arrived at Keller's house on March 5, 1887, a day Keller will forever remember as my soul's birthday. Sullivan immediately began to teach Helen to communicate by spelling words into her hand. The next month, Keller made a breakthrough when she realized that the motions her teacher was making on the palm of her hand while running cool water over the other symbolized the idea of water. Suddenly, the mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew then that water, W-A-T-E-R, meant the wonderful cool something that was flowing over my hand. The living word awakened my soul and gave it light. Last reminder on belief. If you're waiting for your dreams to come true before you'll consider yourself happy, you've obviously forgotten life's number one premise. It's a journey, not a destination. Trite, but true. The proof that many people don't get it is how often the words, "I'll be happy when," come out of their mouths. I'll be happy when I get married or divorced. I'll be happy when I get a promotion. I'll be happy when we get a new house, etc., etc. If, on the other hand, your dreams and your belief in them make you happy in the here and now, consider yourself happier than most, even without being rich, famous, or powerful.
Earlier, when talking about our uniqueness, I stated that no two people have the exact same psychological, philosophical, and spiritual perspectives on life. On that note, with the psychology of belief behind us, what follows are 4 more basic premises of popular psychology. If partners can't agree with these basic psychological principles, I predict a very rocky road. Popular psychology premise number 1. When judging your life, whether the good, bad, best, or worst of it, the way you think is responsible for most of it. So say the following 4 authors. Buddha Gautama says, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Albert Ellis and Robert A. Harper, in their book, The Guide to Rational Living, say, man can live the most self-fulfilling, creative, and emotionally satisfying life by intelligently organizing and disciplining his thinking. Paul J. Meyer says, you are where you are and what you are because of the dominating thoughts that occupy your mind. Lastly, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale says, you are not what you think you are, but what you think you are. Popular psychology premise number 2. How one feels is a byproduct of what goes on between one's ears and less so on what's happening in the world around them, outside of their head. In short, we're sheltered in a house, but we live in our heads. Dr. Wayne Dyer explains feelings this way, quote, you are the person responsible for how you feel. You feel what you think, and you can learn to think differently about anything if you decide to do so. Ask yourself, is there a sufficient payoff in being unhappy, down, or hurt? Then begin to examine in depth the kind of thoughts that are leading you to these debilitating feelings. Close quote. Ask yourself, are you looking for sympathy? Are you wanting someone to feel guilty? Are you seeking an apology? In summary, change your thinking and you can change your mood and your feelings. The ball's in your court, in your head.
Popular psychology premise number 3. Much of our thinking takes place subconsciously. Dr. Maxwell Maltz of psychocybernetics fame reminds us, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between that which is real and that which is vividly imagined. Dr. Eric Berg says, just thinking about stressful situations can spike your blood pressure and increase the strain on your heart. Think about it. Have you ever had a nightmare that raised your blood pressure and made you perspire, but in your dream you faced your fear and calmed yourself down? The point, control your thoughts, or they will surely control you.
Popular psychology premise number 4. Before asking or expecting someone to change their mind or attitude, or before trying to change your own, consider the following. Changing the conscious and subconscious thinking that govern habits and attitudes requires remembering that habits are, by definition, resistant to change. And since attitudes are simply habits of thought, they too resist change. The principles that follow are often applied in therapy to help people break bad habits, such as overdrinking and smoking. When applied, these principles work quite effectively. Understand further that you can't actually break or change self-defeating habits and attitudes, nor can you erase or replace them. They're recorded and rooted in the neural engrams of your brain. What you can do instead is bury them under new habits and attitudes that are more constructive and life-affirming. The new attitudes are then reinforced and internalized through repetition and affirmation by regularly rereading, rethinking, and ongoing exposure to new supportive ideas. New habits are habitualized by regularly practicing them. Some experts say for at least 30 days.
Basically, you learn to think and act differently, while the old self-defeating habits and attitudes, in the absence of reinforcement, will decay over time, and in the process will lose their ability to negatively influence your behavior or thinking. In short, the past doesn't own you. Where you came from and how you got here doesn't matter. Where you want to go does. With voluntary brainwashing and the power of the previously mentioned spaced repetition, reinforcement, and affirmation, you can reprogram your mind with your choice of new ideas that can not only take you where you want to go, but help you do so automatically as a matter of the new internalized habits and attitudes. Keep in mind also, as Will Rogers used to say, you don't know anything unless you've learned it, and you haven't learned it unless you remember it. Again, the key is repetition, the same non-sophisticated way you learned your multiplication tables.
This is why I compiled my quotations book. It's made reviewing pearls of wisdom and gems of thought a lot easier than rereading every self-help book or re-listening to every cassette or video that I'd ever been exposed to. Or, as Johann Wolfgang von Goethe said, all truly wise thoughts have been thought already thousands of times, but to make them truly ours, we must think them over again, honestly, until they take root in our own personal experience. We understand this intuitively, which is why people go to church, temple, mosques, or therapy on a regular basis, or why they reread self-help books or re-listen to positive audio recordings more than once. This is why I love the self-help field. When I'm teaching, I'm learning and reaffirming the thoughts and attitudes that I, too, want to live by. You can do the same.
Besides blaming others for one's own feelings, as Dr. Dyer explained, here's another example of how people relegate control of their feelings to external events, occurrences, conditions, or circumstances. When one says words like, "it makes me angry," "it pisses me off," "it makes me sick to my stomach," or "it gives me a headache," know that the same "it" won't always affect others the same way. Therefore, the cause of one's reactions is in one's thinking, not in the "it."
Two people are seated next to each other on a roller coaster. Same event, same "it." One is screaming like a lunatic, the other is laughing hysterically. Once again, the "it" is not the cause of their reactions. It's their thinking, either conscious or subconscious. In an argument, the idea shows up under the post hoc ergo propter hoc fallacy. This is a logical fallacy where one assumes that because one event happened or followed after another, the first event must have caused the second event. Same with politics. News items don't make, compel, or cause people to do anything. Their reactions will depend on their thinking. Similarly, in domestic violence cases, the disputants deny responsibility for their actions with statements like, "He made me lose my temper," "She made me hit her," "He made me shoot him." Note that while behavior in a legitimate case of self-defense can be quite reactive, behavior in general is a matter of choice and free will. Unfortunately, as explained in the slide on habits and attitudes, free will is not as free once habits and attitudes are internalized in the subconscious. You, however, as boss and controller of your mind, can, with conscious intent and some repetition, reinforcement, and affirmation, choose to reprogram your subconscious with new attitudes and new ways of thinking. The message is clear. People need to stop blaming the it's in their lives for how they feel, react, or behave, and begin accepting greater responsibility for their feelings and reactions. Before leaving the topic of popular psychology, I want to make it clear that not all relationship problems can be remedied with talk therapy or by simply changing your thinking. With this caveat, here are two lesser-known psychological theories that can lead to greater insight into the nuances of what makes some relationships tick and others talk. The following two theories were brought to my attention by a respected psychologist friend. One is called attachment theory, advanced by John Bowlby and supported by robust research. The theory explains that people have either secure or insecure attachment styles. An insecure attachment, the product of early attachment trauma, will wreak havoc in relationships. Subtypes of an insecure attachment are anxious avoidant, anxious ambivalent, and disorganized patterns of relating. Healing an insecure attachment is a prerequisite to achieving a healthy, intimate, secure, and stable connection with your romantic partner. 2. The polyvagal theory by Dr. Stephen Porges explores the relationship between the autonomic nervous system, particularly the vagus nerve, and its effect on human behavior and emotions. He is also the creator of Safe and Sound Protocol, a music-based intervention used to help regulate the nervous system, promote social engagement, and help the body shift out of fight, flight, or freeze reactions when contending with stress and conflict. Back to the book.
Back to the Relationship Compatibility Checklist. My book can not only help you decide whether you and a partner or romantic love interest are made for each other, but it can also help you decide in short order if you're not. In the personality and character category, you'll be discussing questions on topics such as control, arrogance, know-it-all, and superiority, defensiveness, easily provoked and wound tight, forgiveness, self-esteem, sense of humor, and many more, positive and negative traits. In the process, your hope is that your partner or love interest displays little indication of having a persecutor, victim, or rescuer personality. Instead, you're hoping they reveal signs of being a person who is level-headed, even-tempered, and emotionally stable, one who is open and honest and gives you no reason to question their word or behavior, and someone who is real and authentic. They are who you think they are, inside and out. Personality and character are obviously important. How important is hairstyle? A, very. B, somewhat. C, not very. Is it a non-issue, potential conflict, or deal breaker? Would you date a guy who was bald or sported a mohawk? Would you date a girl with burgundy hair? How about facial hair? Is facial hair a non-issue, potential conflict, or deal breaker? Would you date a guy with mutton chops? Would you date a girl or a woman with peach fuzz? If you're reviewing this with a partner and areas of disagreement arise, lighten up, engage your sense of humor, remain calm, and discuss your differences civilly. Incidentally, whatever you feel about an entry, be careful not to underestimate the value of what may appear to be a petty or trivial issue. You'd be surprised, or maybe not, at how little it can take to start an argument, as can almost any discussion on politics or religion. In either case, arguments over major or minor issues can sometimes be quite revelatory. Question: what are the 7 most common reasons why unhappy marriages do not end in divorce? Answer: financial issues, religious vows, children, the insecurity of one or both partners, protecting appearances, legal issues, or too many obstacles to starting over. How about the fear of being alone? Note here that if these unhappy marriages were added to the divorce statistics, the unhappy marriage stats would increase by another 15 to 25%. Refer to my book video overview for major reasons why people get married, plus 15 of the most common reasons given for divorce. 27 more reasons for divorce are listed in the book itself. Fact and conclusion: if people were more open, honest, and transparent, they would make better front-end decisions, and the happy marriage rate would increase, and the divorce rate would decrease. Whether due to low self-esteem or fear that they might not pass muster, everyone lies to some degree, by omission, exaggeration, or sometimes intent. If true, the question gnaws: how can you trust the partner's or romantic interest's answers to the questions in this book? After all, the book is not a lie detector. While it's true that people can't read a lying mind, feelings can often tell us when answers to questions don't make sense or are inconsistent with or contradict other answers to questions that are tangentially related. Such inconsistencies can reveal possible deception and may suggest further inquiry. While the book is not a lie detector, the comprehensiveness and unique wording of the 727 questions in the 23 categories of life, combined with the tone and tenor of their answers, will give you a pretty good idea if a partner or potential love interest is being less than open and honest with you, or hopefully someone you find uncommonly trustworthy. As I've said, making an emotionally stimulating, honest relationship work takes work. A lot of work. Not hard work, just a lot of talking, and hopefully living the talk.
Because this book is so effective at helping you talk so candidly and straightforwardly, you'll soon experience the secret to and the joy of psychological intimacy. With this reference book, I repeat, you can beat the odds. You don't have to become a sad statistic. And you'll never again have to say, "If I only knew then what I know now." With that, I leave you with a 5-letter word acronym to remind you of what life is all about.
Quite simply, it's all about heart. H, health. E, economics, also known as money. A, attitude. R, relationships. And T, thinking. Note at the center of it all,
as the saying goes, there is very little difference in people, but that little difference makes a big difference. The little difference is attitude. The big difference is whether it's positive or negative. Here's a perfect example of this. While my wife was on her deathbed, she recorded her response to learning her fate with the words, "The disease may be taking my body, but it doesn't have to take my mind. In signing off, I wish that your life be blessed with the joy of a psychologically intimate and uniquely compatible life partner who also has a great attitude. What more could you ask for?
Please share and help take this presentation viral, and join me in helping make the world a kinder, nicer, more compatible place, one couple at a time. P.S. See important notes at the bottom of this page.
The end. Or is it a new beginning?